Hey, welcome to Mooney Reads. My name is Beck, and today I'm going to be doing the New Year's book tag. I've seen this tag floating around a little bit. Several people have done it. I'll put the original in the description in case you haven't seen it. But the whole goal of the tag is to talk about the goals that you have for next year. I know I am more than ready to get into 2021 and leave all of whatever the fuck 2020 is behind. And I know I'm not the only person who feels like that. So, let's get right into it and see what next year might hold. The first question in this tag is, how many books are you planning to read in 2021? And I don't really know quite where to go with a book goal. Last year I read, I think 173 or so, but that is the most that I have read by a pretty wide margin. I don't usually record how many books I read so much. I could look at past years on my old Goodreads, but I know that I didn't put everything down, especially stuff that I read for school. So it's really hard to say what a good goal is. I'm going to do what I did last year and just set it for 100. And if I hit it, great. I might set a new goal afterwards, which is what I did this past year. And if not, it's not going to be a big deal. Question 2 is, name 5 books that you didn't get to, but you want to make a priority in 2021. And for this question, I have elected to not include books that I have already started and need to finish, because those I would like to prioritize. If you want to read about how many books I have on my current read shelf, I have a video on it. Obviously, it isn't 100% current, but a lot of those are still on the list. So instead, I picked 5 other books. I have a lot of books that I'm really excited to get to. So in some regards, these are 5 random ones, and they're all fiction. The first book that I have is for an author that I know is going to be a favorite of mine. I've technically only read one of their books, but I read it twice in the same year. So I am completely confident that I'm going to love basically everything else they put out. And that is American Hippo by Sarah Gailey. This is technically 2 books because it is River of Teeth and Taste of Marrow, but it's all in one, so it counts as one. I'm super excited to read more Sarah Gailey. They're coming out with another book this year, and I read the synopsis and thought the vast majority of the plot dynamic is absolutely not something that I would read, but seeing the twist and knowing that it's Sarah Gailey, I think that I'm going to really like it. So I definitely want to catch up on the rest of the books that they've written, but I'm going to prioritize American Hippo since that's the one that is on my shelf. The next book that I'm going to talk about is one that a lot of people talked about and sounds exactly like something that I would love. And that is This Is How You Lose the Time War. How have I not read this? From what I understand, this is peak gay yearning with time travel, rivals to lovers or enemies to lovers. I don't know. I don't care. It's very gay. I'm here for it. Next, I have a backlist book that was on so many of 2020's TBRs and did not get touched at all. And that is The Well of Loneliness by Radcliffe Hall. This is a kind of classic lesbian novel. It was published in the 1920s. I just really need to get to it. So I am definitely reading this in 2021. So that was a queer classic. So next I'll talk about a queer new release. This was published in 2020. Dr. Sad by David Bateman. This is one that I was very recently gifted, and I discussed it a little bit in a book haul. This sounds just incredible. It sounds so cool. And so I definitely want to prioritize this. And then finally, I have a YA that I've really been wanting to get to, and that is Like a Love Story, which is set in the 1980s. I'm not totally clear on the details of the plot. I know that there is some discussion of the HIV and AIDS movement, and all of those little details are enough to make me really want to read it. I've had it for a good while. I think I bought it towards the beginning of 2020, So I definitely want to get to this. Question number 3 is, what genre do you want to read more of? And for that, I definitely want to read more middle grade. I read a few middle grades last year, and I think that in general, reading more middle grade and even children's books would be really good. It's not the thing that I'm going to center, but I do want to make an effort to at least read maybe one book per month. I would also like to incorporate more nonfiction. I read about a third nonfiction last year, and I would like to up that a little bit, especially because the overwhelming number of books that are unread on my shelves are nonfiction. Question number 4 is to state 3 non-book related goals. One goal that I have is that I want to go back to writing more. More specifically, I would like to finish one of the articles that I was working on. I do have a few ideas for articles, but I have 2 that I'm considering really focusing on. One of them is taking part of the data from my thesis and turning it into an article. It's specifically data involving people talking about their experiences with transphobic media representation. The second article idea that I have also involves representation, but it's looking at controlling images, which partly comes from media, but it's looking kind of at the wider picture, and specifically looking at how trans women of color are impacted specifically within the criminal system in the United States. So I'm gonna hopefully be focused on one of those 2 things. So that's a non-bookish goal. I also want to be more consistent with certain household chores. I'm bad about putting off washing the dishes and stuff like that. So if I could have enough brain power to do mundane things, that would be great. And then finally, I want to get better at reaching out to people. So reaching out to people around me, texting, setting up phone calls, and that sort of thing. And honestly, even stuff as mundane as leaving comments on people's YouTube videos, because my social anxiety will get the better of me a lot of the times. So I'm wanting to step outside my comfort zone and hopefully make some connections in the process. Question number 5 is to show a book that you've had forever that you still need to read. And I have quite a few of those, but I'm going to talk about one that I really, really, really want to get to, and that is Welcome to Night Vale by Josephine and Jeffrey Cranor. I probably got this in 2015, so it's 5 years old, so it's definitely not the oldest book that I have on my shelf, but it's still one that I've had for a long time and that I've been excited for. I just need to read it. So, prompt number 6 is to say one word that you want your 2021 to be. And the word that I've settled on is rebuild. But I almost picked the word metamorphosis. And I kind of want to explain a little bit why. A lot of this is based off of an understanding of how caterpillars turn into butterflies that may or may not be biologically accurate, but it works well for a metaphor. So obviously, caterpillar turns into a chrysalis that turns into a butterfly, but I have heard people say that in order for the caterpillar to turn into a butterfly, it basically has to turn into mush. It has to turn into liquid and totally recompose itself. I can identify different parts of my life where I would assume that I have been broken down, but really it was definitely the process of me building the vehicle for change. And I feel like in 2020, I finally got to the point where I was turning basically into goo. So much change, even outside of the pandemic. Stuff with different people in my life totally changed. My understanding of myself in a lot of ways has changed. Definitely over the past few years. I mean, just looking at sexuality and gender and letting myself imagine myself instead of imagining what I know other people want to see. But But with all the things that happen, I feel like I've been, in a lot of ways, just really broken down. And I think that 2021 can be the time where I start to finally rebuild. And I can start to put together the pieces of what I really want to see. So that's the hope. Rebuilding, turning this mush into something that maybe could fly one day. So hopefully that wasn't too dramatic. Prompt number 7 is to tag people. I literally just got done talking about how I need to reach out to more people. So that probably means that I shouldn't use my anxiety as a cop-out to not tag anyone. So look in the description and I will have picked a number of people to tag. If you're not tagged and you want to do this, use this as a reason. I'm tagging you now. So that's all for the tag, but I do want to talk about a couple of other things that I would like to do in the new year, specifically looking at books and booktube and whatnot. One thing that I know that I'm going to do is to make smaller TBRs. I'm limiting myself to 10, because if you've been watching for any length of time, you know that I'm bad at sticking to them. So hopefully that will reel me in. I also want to put a cap on how many books I can read at once, which I already have lots of books that I'm reading, so I'm going to have to pick which ones to really focus on. The plan is to not have more than 2 fiction novels going on at the same time. Same goes for nonfiction, only 2 nonfictions going on at the same time. And then 1 graphic novel or poetry collection, which I think is going to be easy because I usually don't juggle those. In fact, a lot of the times with graphic novels, at least, I sit down and read it in one go. This is not going to include the stuff that I'm taking my time with and reading pieces of. For instance, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but Nobody Passes is one that I've wanted to take sort of slowly, read 1 or 2 of at a time. Borderlands La Frontera is also one that I'm going to take my time with, especially since there's more than 1 language incorporated. So those aren't going to be included. Another thing that I want to do is to keep a consistent spreadsheet. Last year, I had a spreadsheet, but I started collecting it at around May or April, and I got things together to do kind of some mid-year stats, and then proceeded to not keep up with it, and by the end of the year, November, my ass was kicked. December continued to kick my ass. I did not put it together. So, I'm planning on actually having a sheet and filling it out as I go, which is what I should have been doing to begin with. So, I want to do that, and I want to try to keep both Storygraph and Goodreads updated. I think the goal is to eventually just go over to Storygraph. Goodreads is just not that good, and Amazon is hot garbage. A lot of people do use it, though, which is really the only reason why I'm still kind of wanting to stay there, but I'm definitely going to use Storygraph as much, if not more. Storygraph is going to be more accurate anyways because I can put in the half stars and stuff like that. They also have a really good trigger warning system or content warning system. So if you don't already know what Storygraph is, definitely check it out. They don't technically have an app. However, they do have a way to put a bookmark on your phone that works a little bit more than just a bookmark. To me, it works basically the same or very similar to how I would imagine an app to work. Not that I'm any sort of authority on what an app is or isn't. I'll put a link to that so that you could check it out down below. It's really cool so far, and they've only been developing it for the past year or so. It's technically still in beta, but they've got a lot of cool features. It's already better than Goodreads, so at least try it out. Another goal that I have is to finish more comics and manga series. I did a vlog where I read through all of Saga, and that was a whole lot of fun. And I really want to be able to finish a lot of these series that I start, and I've started a few. I had a goal to, like, once per month pick a different series to really focus on, and that didn't end up really happening, but I would like to start that again. I'm not sure if it's going to start in January or if it's going to start in February, but it will happen, and I want to be able to consistently read through series, even if they're series that they're still in the middle of. I would like to at least catch up. So far as novels go, I don't really read large series. I think I've gotten myself into a duology, but I can handle a duology. After that, it gets a little bit sketchy as to whether or not I'm going to finish it, unless it really, really catches my attention. And a lot of the series out there, I feel like I'm not confident would capture my attention that much, especially when you get into the realm of like 5+ books. You have to do a lot of work to keep my attention. I can barely finish one long book. Another goal that I have is regarding my topical TBRs. I want to definitely be intentional and be sure that I'm including them in my TBRs. With my topical TBRs, there are a lot of books that are going to take more time. So I do understand that. I can't have, 500 of the books, going through them all in 1 month. But I do want to be sure that I have a book from at least 1 or 2 topical TBRs on any given monthly TBR. So, for example, in January, I'm going to be reading We Both Laughed in Pleasure, which is on my LGBT plus history TBR. There are some topical TBRs that I haven't set in stone yet. Really, all of them are a little bit fluid because I add to them. But On Tyranny could be considered a part of my political science TBR, because that's going to enrich like that section of what I'm interested in. And that's really what the topical TBRs are for. It's to be sure that I am focusing in on these different things that I am interested in. So these are my 2 for January. Definitely going to finish this one. Definitely going to start this one. I don't really have any goals so far as like my channel and stuff goes. Honestly, I started all of this so that I had a place to just exist and to talk about books because I thought it was cool. And I've succeeded in that. And also somehow have found over 200 people who are interested enough to at least subscribe to my channel, and over 1,000 people over on Instagram. So that's all really wild. I've made some super cool connections and have started to talk to some really awesome people. For someone with 0 social skills, that's pretty impressive. I've participated in a number of readathons. I have been a part of a video collab. I was able to co-host a readathon on Instagram, and in January I will be co-hosting a readathon with another YouTuber. So that's wild and really awesome, especially since I came into all of this with basically no expectations, other than I wanted somewhere to be a big gay nerd. So I'm hoping that in 2021 I can continue to be a big gay nerd and talk to other people who have similar interests to me. That's basically my whole plan so far as BookTube and Bookstagram goes. I think that's it for this video. Hopefully this turns into something cohesive, because I definitely did not script any of that last part whatsoever. In the comments you can let me know what your reading goals are for 2021, or let me know something cool that's happened to you in 2020. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye.